Hello, everyone, and welcome. It is January 8th, 2022, and I'm your co-host, Thefatwizard, joined today by...
Alamaxia.
And Lobos.
Today we're playing The Elder Scrolls III Morrowind, and this was released in North America May 1st, 2002. We're looking at some footage here that is on the PC. Obviously, it was also released on the Xbox. The footage I have here is actually the Game of the Year edition on Steam. So that includes a couple DLCs. So we may be seeing some of that content kind of like interleave inside of here. We're just kind of calling that out. And then I know, Lobos, you at least played this with some very nice visual overhauls here, which made it look like a pretty good game. Maybe like a 2010-ish game.
Yeah, it was great.
The modding community in this game has been active ever since its inception, and they are still developing newer and crazier mods.
Yeah. Well, so you start off with like a little intro here, and I guess this is... I haven't played Arena or Daggerfall. Those were the Elder Scrolls 1 and 2, but I think we've recognized this as sort of a series staple for the Elder Scrolls games, at least 3, 4, and 5, is you start out and you have this character creation. You have like a little, sometimes you're I think in all the games I can remember, you're a prisoner-ish, and you have a very small, little focused intro there. And in this one, we're a prisoner, and we are being escorted off the ship for, we're not sure what reason, but they have a kind of a cool way to make your character. They're like, hey, we saw you were from far away, but we don't know where. Could you tell us where? And then that's where you can like change your race there.
Well,
so I played as a cat person.
One thing real quick is that you weren't actually a prisoner coming across.
Okay.
We will learn a bit more about that later on in the story. I'll talk about, but you were actually under guard on the way.
Ah, okay. Very cool. Thank you for... And Alamaxia, we're going to rely on you to be our lore expert here. So if we get anything wrong, blame it on Alamaxia. So I played as a cat person, Khajiit, I believe they're called. Lobos, what did you play as?
I was a high elf, and my name was Harry Potter, and I went sorcerer build.
Okay. And Alamaxia, what do you play as here?
I went wood elf, and I was a very stealthy long blade.
Nice.
Yeah,
had a lot of fun.
I also went the thief route here, a little bit of sneaking, a little bit of archery, and then like I did the short blade, I believe, which is pretty cool. And so, were you the thief then, Alamaxia, or what was your class you started with, or did you pick your own skills? Because you can basically pick a template. You can be like, I'm gonna be a fighter, a wizard, a sorcerer, whatever, or you can pick your own major and minor skills. Which did you do?
I can't remember which one I picked. It wasn't thief. I think it was assassin. Because Assassin had a few different schools of magic, like Alteration.
Yeah. That's one that will allow you to be invisible, basically, right? So you basically be invisible and backstab fools, right?
There's that, but I mainly used it to fly.
Okay.
I virtually did no walking in this game.
Same.
That's good.
Same.
It'll probably save you a lot of time.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I think it's really worth calling out the speedrun of this game is 3 minutes or something. It is hilarious. If you want to see some really crazy game-breaking shenanigans, do look for the Morrowind speedrun. It's a lot of fun, and it skips a lot of this stuff. But let's talk a little bit about this first town here. And you get off the boat, and I don't know, for some reason, this is such an iconic thing for me, is the character of Fargoth. And is this just me, or does other people really remember this character here, that he both lost his ring, got his ring stolen, but more importantly, he owes some other guy money, and you're supposed to kind of stake him out, and when he goes out at night, you find a secret hiding spot. And to me, like, this is always like one of the things I remember so much about this game.
Yeah, right after you come out of that census office, he's right there. He's usually the first NPC. You're like, there's someone outside of here that isn't in all armor. What does he have to say? And he gives you this neat little quest. And everyone, I think, by the end of this first quest, hates Fargoth. It's just like unanimous.
Yeah, and so one person says, "Hey, Fargoth owes me money. He's not paying it. he has it. He's just hiding it somewhere. And again, I think that was a really cool. I guess it's almost like one of the first quests you would probably do here in Morrowind is really just trailing someone. I thought that was really cool. Kind of stuck out as me as like, this is a living and breathing world, in Fargoth, he kind of does his own thing during the day, and then at night he kind of goes into stealth mode. He's got a lantern out, and you can follow him he's the only character that has light source that's moving around. So I thought that was really cool. But I don't spend too much time here. We do focus mostly on the crit path, because as I found out, the crit path is incredibly long. Like I started the game, I was like, I'll do a little bit of Thieves Guild stuff, a little bit of Mage's Guild. Harry Potter over there, I saw you dabbling in the Mage's Guild for some time as well.
Oh, yeah.
But it's really easy to get sidetracked, and I typically do in these games. What do you guys? Do you guys kind of like wander around and explore the different locales, or you try to like focus on a particular guild or quest line?
I typically did quest line stuff. I would stick to Mage Guild until I felt like maybe I would hit a point where I needed to do some more side tasks, or I got a new rank. Then I would go back to main quest and kind of do that till I hit another stop point and just go back and forth that way.
Sure.
I went the route of finding myself some gear and getting a whole bunch of gear to sell and making way too much money.
Okay. Do we want to talk about the mud crab now?
Or
we could. We might as well.
We could talk about mud crab, and we could talk about creeper.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there are two vendors in the game that are very hidden, and they are two vendors that have by far the most gold. One of them is Creeper. He's a creeper that lives in the upstairs of the Orc Manor in Caldera. He has 5,000 gold. And then there is this unassuming mud crab that is east of Vivec that you talk to him, and he'll talk back, and he has 10,000 gold.
Yeah.
So
and that regenerates.
Yeah, it regenerates
every
week
or
24
right?
hours. So you could sell things to him, wait 24 hours, and they'll have the gold back. Yeah. And if he had something worth way more than what they had, you sell a whole bunch of little stuff to them, sell them the big thing while you buy all the rest of your stuff back, and then you just keep cycling selling that little stuff again. So it's very easy to get about 200,000 gold in your first few levels, and then the game is just broken.
Yeah, I think what's funny about this game is later on you start getting really cool like Daedric weapons and real these artifacts. And you're like, this has a value of 100,000 gold. You're like, oh my god, I am rich. And then you're like, I can only find someone that has 500 gold. So like, I don't know, I'll sell you this 10,000 or 100,000 gold piece item for your 500 gold, and you feel kind of cheated. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about Balmora here. I always consider this kind of the main city, even though Vivec is the capital of this world of Morrowind. I always consider Balmora as like the main city because you come here so often. But Alamax, you want to walk us through a little bit about why we went to Balmora and what we're doing? We just met our Blades commander, right? So walk us through what's going on.
So the census office in Seydanine said, hey, you need to go talk with Caius Cassades. He's over in Balmora. He's going to give you your quest. And Caius Cassades tells you that, you need to go talk to this guy and help him out. I think it was Antabolus Informant. And you had to go find this thing called a Dwemer Puzzle Box.
Yeah. And we're heading to that location now, yeah.
And all you know about this puzzle box is that it exists somewhere within this Dwemer ruin that's, just outside of Balmora.
I think they also mentioned it's about the size of your fist.
Yeah, it's about like a Rubik's Cube size.
Yeah.
Yep. But
this is a very, very large location. It has probably 6 or 7 different sub areas within it. But this is cool because the Dwemers are a civilization. I believe they're like dwarves. They're basically craftspeople. And it's very like almost like steampunky. You see a lot of these real thick steam vents, and you see some of these like capacitors and lava and stuff like this. But as you get to these Dwemer ruins, they're kind of overtaken by humanoids that are looking for treasure and whatever. So it's cool to explore this area. And these will be scattered throughout the world, right? And sometimes there won't be a quest associated with it. You just walk in and you can find some really cool weapons and artifacts there. So I find that, again, I mentioned that I am really trying to stick to the crit path here, because I find that I'm wandering around like, ooh, what's this little shiny over here? And then I'll have an hour-long adventure going through this dungeon. So it was almost therapeutic to be like, oh, I'm just focusing just on the crit path here.
Yeah, and whenever you don't have a compass telling you where your crit path is supposed to go, it is very, very, very easy to just go the wrong way. And sometimes you'll go into the wrong ruin or the wrong temple, and you'll just start finding loot everywhere. And you're like, well, now I can't leave this place. I have to find everything in here.
and also I can't carry it all, so I got to like figure out what I want to come back for. Yeah, speaking of that whole compass thing, that was one of the things I really, really liked here is, I don't remember the name of the Dwemer runes we're in right now, but they don't put a marker on your map. They're like, all right, we'll go out of town, take the first fork on the left. You'll see a signpost.
Yeah.
Keep heading north. And it's just really cool. You're pulling up a journal and you're like, wow, I'm using the world to navigate. And that, I was like, man, that's so cool. I love that.
Another thing I really loved with this game is you could not only do that, but the game I've actually purchased the game like 6 different times outside of Steam.
Sure.
And I have the original map for it laminated, and I remember sitting down when I was younger and using wet erase marker to plan out my path of where I needed to go. It was because the whole map that they printed out has every cave on the map. You just have to look. You have to look for it. It's so cool. Tiny, but it's really, really neat to be walking along and say, oh man, there was something back there. And you go back and you're like, oh, this is a new ruin that I never knew about.
That's cool. So, there's a bunch of sub areas here. We're seeing some enemies. I think these enemies are optional, but we see these mechanoid type monsters. One looks like a little spider. See what his name is. Cool. This is a Centurion Spider. And then there's another one that looks like a guy that is riding on a ball, it's kind of a stone ball, but it's made of brass or something. And then he's got a sword and a shield. He almost looks like a training dummy or something. And these enemies will propagate through the Skyrim or the Elder Scrolls games, so it's cool to see them progress through the different ages, if you will, or different locales there.
Yeah, what's funny is with this dungeon, the end of it is also the beginning, pretty much, because you can just like jump right up, and the where you would come out after all this is like right at the beginning. And I jumped up there first, and I was like, oh, okay, cool, puzzle box, and I never saw any of these sub areas.
Well, let's talk a little bit about how combat works here, because I know, Lobos, you're a big fan of combat, and you were casting. So why don't you walk me through like some of the spells you were using as you were going through these dungeons?
Yeah. Well, so excuse me. This is not my first time playing Morrowind, so I had never done a magic build, and I told my stream like, all right, advise me on how magic is broken in this game. So I've learned about so many things. And a lot of the time I used crafted spells that, you can make certain spells that will just permanently add stats to your character. So you pretty much never have to worry about mana. I think I had like something like 30,000 intelligence or something like that.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
And wound up having like 15k mana, so I would almost never have to worry about it. But the thing that I remember most about Morrowind is the dice roll to hit, which, especially if you don't have a lot of skill yet, can be very frustrating.
Or a lot of stamina, which he's saying, I was having difficulty hitting this guy.
Yeah. And the spellcasting does not have that. It's just...
It actually does.
They can have resist, but like, I was 100%
but
hitting. Like,
okay.
Right.
Yeah, so the chance to actually cast the spell is based off both your skill and fatigue. But yeah, if you hit a guy with a fireball, you're going to hit a guy with a fireball.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking more.
Okay. Yeah.
And I will say I did have spells fizzle, but it was pretty rare for me, although I did have 30,000 intelligence or whatever. So
having more luck will also help out. I think the luck hidden thing caps out at like 61, and the more luck you have, it really does affect a lot of things. Like you can craft a spell that you have 0% chance of casting, but with enough luck you can cast it.
Nice.
Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
Yeah, because it says luck affects everything in the skill up or the level up, but it doesn't really say like what that means.
Yeah.
So I just assume that was a flat modifier to almost everything you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just picked up the Dwemer box. I wasn't able to find it initially because it is really hard and it's kind of unassuming. They just kind of have it off to the side on a little shelf. It's not like on a big pedestal with particles and stuff. It's just kind of like, yeah, it's hanging out there. So,
but as an intro quest, I think that really sets the tone for the player, saying that this is not a game that you can just go through and not read. You have to look at things. You have to pay attention. You have to look in the corners, and they created a world that has something in every corner.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Sometimes to my demise, because I'm like, okay, I need to open every single little urn. Oh, it's just ashes in here. Well, let me eat those ashes then, because
You've been on the road for a while.
Yeah, right. There's nothing. Need some ashes to quench my thirst. So we're looking at the leveling up screen right now. Lobos, do you want to walk us through like how leveling works? Because it's actually kind of cool.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird.
You have
right?
a bunch of skills like
major and minor skills, right?
Yeah, longsword, armor skills, magic skills, different types of magic, alteration, destruction for damage spells, illusion, all this stuff. And as you perform actions, even jumping will give you XP for your acrobatics, or running will give you athletics points. And when you finally level, you get a multiplier for boosting the skill, a particular stat rather, that kind of governs a skill. So like, what is it? Is it agility for acrobatics?
Yeah, agility.
Yeah, so if you just sat there and jumped constantly, whenever you level, you'll have this ×5 multiplier for your agility. And so it just works its way such that whatever you're doing is whatever you'll be able to effectively or more efficiently level at.
Yeah,
So,
as long as it's a part of your major and minor skills. So
True.
if it's not, you can still level them up, but they won't contribute to your level itself. So every level, you have to basically level a combination of 10 of your major and minor skills. And once those hit 100, it's capped out. So it's kind of a bummer. It's like one of these things where the start of the game, you're leveling really, really fast because you're doing things, you're jumping around, you're hitting people with your sword, you're picking locks. But then after a while, it's like, all right, you've maxed out your blade, so you can't level any more on that. The one thing that's a little weird, and I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of, is it only works on successful things. So you have to actually hit someone with your blade or whatever, your bow, to level it up. So that becomes sometimes a little tricky, where if you have a very, very low skill, it's almost impossible to level up without paying someone to kind of teach you the ropes.
That's true,
which is it's a cool thing. You can go to trainers and it's like, hey, teach me a thing about bow, and for 50 gold, they're like, all right, we'll give you a level in archery.
Yeah, the low level training is it is really there just to say, you have this, you want to level short blade because you have 500 different enchanted short blades, but you can't find the long blade one you want.
Yeah.
So you're like, I'm going to use short blade. You have a level 5 skill. You won't hit anything. So you just pay someone to get it to like level 20, and they keep it nice and a nice small just charge amount. But once you get into the higher levels, sometimes trainers can't even train you. They say, you're too far from me. You need to go talk to this person.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, we just we brought the Dwemer box back to, I think it was the guy in the Fighters Guild, right?
Hasfat and Tobolus.
Yeah. And then, because Cassius basically deals in favors, not money. So Cassius sent you to go help out a person in the Fighters Guild, I think. He got you that Dwemer box, and then he's like, all right, now go help out this person in the Mages Guild. And you're like, okay. And we just went through a family crypt there, and we had to collect a skull of someone and bring that back. And so now Cassius says, great, you're going to go to Vivec, I believe is what we're doing now, and we have to meet 3 people. We need to meet Julia, Mehero. By the way, the names here are almost incomprehensible, and it will get worse in the game. So forgive my pronunciation here. And then there's like someone in the Thieves Guild we need to meet. So
Adiranier.
we're going to go to Vec. What was that?
We have to meet with Adiranier.
Adiranier.
Yeah.
Khajiit.
Okay.
Khajiit, I have no word for it.
By the way, can we talk about the slang people call you when they fight you? They call you some like really made up slang.
NY.
Yeah, it's really funny. And then they look at me and they'll they'll kind of like criticize me for being a cat or whatever.
Oh yeah.
It is really neat how they will comment on the race that you choose, and if you choose a dark elf, a Dwemer, then a lot of the other people of the world, they talk with you in an entirely different tone.
Oh, really?
It's so neat.
So we made it to Vivec. Oh, yeah, here's something I wanted to call. I thought it was really cool. So there's the Thieves Guild quest line, but there's also this other Thieves Guild quest line, which you meet a guy named Gentleman Jim Stacy. And what, Alamaxia, have you seen this?
Is this the Morag Tong?
I don't know, not sure what it is, but it's basically like a reverse Thieves Guild where you go deposit a diamond ring in some poor person's
I haven't seen
loot.
This.
Yeah, so basically you're like,
Hooding.
okay, yeah, Robin Hood, and you got to put on these white gloves, and then when you have these white gloves on, you go basically like rob the rich, and then you go give that to the poor. So it's really kind of cool.
That's cool.
You check that out. It's in Vivec. I don't remember which. It's kind of like in a secret passage.
Vivec is a
Vivec
huge city.
Yeah.
Walk me through Vivec, because I'll tell you what, Vivec is one of those that I dread going to because it's such a pain to navigate. Alamax, you want to walk me through Vivec as a whole?
Yeah, so Vivec is a very large city that has multiple large buildings called cantons. Yeah. And these cantons have a mid-level, an upper level, and below those it has like a wasteworks and even like a sewer area. And each of these cantons are about the size of, about half the size of Balmora. About half the size of Balmora and about 3 tiers high. So there's a lot of running around you have to do. There's the foreign quarters, which has the Mages Guild. There's an arena that has, some NPC fighting. You have the 3 major houses, Laulu, Rudder, and Tavani have their own cantons. Temple Canton, Vivec's Canton. It's just huge, all connected by bridges. And if you don't have a Levitate spell or a whole lot of speed, you will spend probably a good 10 hours just running around Vivec. It's so big.
Yeah, and so a lot of this footage, I do fast forward just because I want to be able to provide a kind of like a scenery, because a lot of Morrowind is exploring this really large scenery, but it just sometimes takes very, very long to navigate if you're not flying, which I wasn't. But can I take a little intermission here and just talk about the water, because we've seen it numerous times, and I remember when I picked up this game, I was absolutely blown away staring at the water while listening to the music. By the way, I believe the music is Jeremy Sewell's. Complete, like, beautiful spoilers. You're going to be hearing about this in our game, the 2002 deliberations of this year. But beautiful music, and just like watching the reflections of the water, and you can jump in the water and it will have the patterns, like the ripple effects there. Oh, it was so amazing. And they even have like thunderstorms.
Yeah,
and
the thunderstorms
sandstorms.
Are fierce in this.
Yeah.
I love them.
Yeah, it was. It's just so much attention to creating that atmosphere of just the world, not just like the characters, the NPCs wandering around, but just like you feel like the world is breathing and living around you, from the weather to the AI to the mountains and just the trails and whatnot. So it's really a game you can get lost in. And again, going back to Vivec is somewhere where you will get lost in without frequent usage of the map. Like, a lot of my game was 5 seconds of running and then pulling up a map. Okay, am I pointing in the right direction? And did I pass my thing? So there's a lot of map stuff there. So yeah, we are currently walking around trying to talk to 3 people. I don't remember exactly what information we're trying to gather. As a whole, I think
we're
There's
mainly
something
just
called
trying
like
to
a
get
Nerevarine, right?
Yeah, we're trying to get more information about the Nerevarine and the Sixth House cult.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you want to just briefly walk us through what that is and what that why we're doing that? Alamaxia?
Sure. So the Nerevarine was basically a prophet to them many years ago that fought alongside the three gods of Tamriel, and the Nerevarine was able to drive out the plague from Vardenfell and basically cleanse Red Mountain. But then we find out that there is a new house. Like, there's different houses like House Lalu, House Redrin, but there is a sixth house, is what they call them.
Secret house, right?
The sixth house, which is led by Dagoth who is now
that
the
name just sounds evil.
leader of Red Mountain. And we learned that Dagoth and the Nerevarine fought together. And in the end, the Nerevarine betrayed Dagoth
Ooh.
But it was a betrayal that was for the good of Morrowind, despite Dagoth protesting otherwise.
Well, when you're in charge of the history books, who is good and who is evil is up to you, right? So they also do have, what's really cool is they have around Red Mountain, they have a ghost gate. Is that what they call it?
And they have the ghost fence, and then they have the ghost gate.
Fence. Thank you. Yeah, and it's just you won't be able to get to Red Mountain initially, I think, or maybe you can still go through. But anyway, as you approach it from any other angle other than the gate itself, there's just this slightly transparent gate or fence that you can't go through, and it's like a big bubble thing, right? And so it's really cool. You're like, oh man, what is through here? And it kind of sets up that scene for like wanting to explore the world and figure out like, how do I get in there?
I remember my very first ever playthrough spending several days sneaking all around the edge of Ghost Fence to see if I could find a way in other than Ghost Gate. Because I was terrified of going to Ghost Gate because I was like, I go through there and it's going to be a ton of enemies and I'm not going to be able to fight them. So I'm like sneaking all around the edge.
Yeah, so let's talk about some of the enemies that you'll encounter here out in the wilderness. So obviously there's humanoids, and then as you go into dungeons, there'll be skeletons and mages. But some of the enemies that you'll fight out in the wilderness are, of course, cliff racers. I don't think anyone can talk about this game without acknowledging the cliff racers.
I thought they were the only enemies.
Let's do that right now. They are the only enemies, and I don't understand why there are so many, but as you get closer and closer to Red Mountain, or anytime you're in the mountainous areas, they just seem to be spawning every 5 seconds. And the problem is they will just hunt you and fly to you and attack you. But the worst part is the screech, right? They'll just like screech as they attack you, and it's such an annoyance. So, I picked up archery to deal with them. Lobos, I saw you doing some dogfighting in the air, right?
Oh, yeah.
Walk me through some of that stuff.
Yeah,
That looked fun.
Well, like Alamaxia said, there's a Levitate spell, and I had crafted one that lasted about 30 seconds and had a decent speed. So that, along with a mega jump spell, which would
mega jump.
it was just like 100 skilled worth of jump. Which, if you do it, then you just fly, like maybe, I don't know, a tenth of the map's distance at a very high speed, and you have to make sure you slow fall, otherwise you crater when you fall. But, so I travel a lot that way, and if I was trying to go slower than that mega jump, there was always cliff racers that just needed to be nuked down with some sort of fireball or lightning ball spell, which is mostly what I used.
I did find with cliff racers that if you jump at them, I had a much higher chance of hitting them, because I think whenever they're hovering, I think that they hover just outside of your reach sometimes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But Lobos, you're talking about, have enough speed, enough flight, and everything. Did either of you? Well, I know Wiz couldn't use these because he was Khajiit, but did Lobos? Did you find the boots of blinding speed?
No, I didn't. Not this time around, but I had before.
Okay, yeah, those are something that you get just outside of Caldera from this NPC that wants you to take her to the west to I can't remember the little town that she takes you to, but she gives you these boots that have a constant effect of fortify your speed by 200 and give you 100% blindness. So your screen is completely black. But if you drink down enough resist magicka potions that you can buy in Vivec, as long as you have 100 resist magicka, when you put them on, then it negates that blinding effect entirely. So now you can run around about as fast as Wiz is fast forwarding through the video.
Yeah.
I will say, I remember back when I played this that I could bump up my gamma, and that worked. I could see. So I don't know if that was
with
fixed.
blind.
But yeah, like it,
Nice.
it was like instead of actually just blanking out the whole entire screen, it looked like they put something that was like mostly transparent or mostly opaque. But yeah, it was kind of funny.
Yeah, it was meant
so,
it was meant there so that you could half resist the blind, and it would be like a 50% opacity.
Okay. So we saw some other enemies. One was like I don't know how to describe it, like a big dog thing. I don't know. It's weird, but yeah, that was one of them. Here's one that's really cool. This actually kind of reminds me a little bit of like the Dungeon Keeper guy.
Bile Demon, yeah.
See, yeah, the Bile Demon, right? He's got the two horns, and he's got the nipple ring on one of his nipples, and then he's a big green guy. And this is one of the categories of monsters called what's the name of these? Daedra?
Daedra.
No, not Daedra. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so these, I don't know the lore of these. Alamaxia, could you fill us in on like what the heck the Daedra is? So
there are two sides of basically the gods. There are the Daedric gods and the Adric gods. So you have basically Daedric is kind of seen as more of the demon or devil, and Adra is seen as more of the angelic side. But the Daedra that we normally encounter are going to be something either like goblin or lizard based. But there's also like Daedric worshippers. There's a lot of Daedric gods. In fact, we get the help of a Daedric god in this later on. Oh, yes. I think I know which one you're talking about now.
Interesting.
That's cool.
So the gods are very interesting whenever you start to read into the interactions they have with each other. And speaking of which, one of the things that was really great about this game is there's all these books you can pick up and read the lore. And the books can get lengthy. Some of them are just kind of cool parables about, here's a funny story about a thief that got caught, or here's exploring the town of Balmora, or here's the ancient gods. And what's actually really cool is they sometime later they published a physical copy of all the books that have been in the game since Skyrim, I think. So I actually have one of those physical copies. That's awesome.
It's big.
Very
it's like
cool.
three parts. It's crazy.
Now, when you read that, did your unarmed increase by 1?
Right.
I haven't read it yet. It's too daunting. It's more about having it there, right? It's like, hey, if I want to, I could read them all here. So we have completed another quest here, talking to the 3 people in Vivec. We got the heck out of there. We'll be back to Vivec, so don't worry. And we went to the next location that is kind of a home. We'll be here many, many times. It is one of the what do they call it? It's like tribal
Ashbourne?
Is it
Ashbourne?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
is that what it is? And they are telling us so we need to get like advice from the wise woman, I think, something like that.
Yeah, we had to go to the Ursula Coup camp, and we had to get permission to go talk to the wise man or the leader.
Yeah, and in order to do that, we need to prove ourselves as a member of a clan, or at least recognized by that clan. And to do that, we need to go into... Is this one of their crypts? I don't remember exactly like how they relate to this, but we do have to go here.
This.
Okay, and we have to. We have to pick up an item? I don't remember which item it is though. Does anyone remember what we're doing? I don't. Was this
the shield that we had to get?
No, I think the shield's a little bit later. Well, we'll find it at some point here. But a lot of cool skeletons here.
You get the awesome gloves is what you get here, I think.
I don't think I saw gloves, but we did find a really cool 2-handed glass sword called the Mage Killer, and we'll see this in the video. I know, Lobos, we kind of directed you to that.
I used that's one cool. A lot.
It's pretty awesome. But I will say that a lot of the crypt path dungeons I really love because they seem unique. You know, you can go into a dungeon and that isn't part of the crypt path, and often they feel a little bit cookie cutter. You kind of like, you've gone through a couple caves, you kind of know what to expect. But yeah, the crypt path dungeons, they do pretty well on selling a visual aesthetic here and making it look interesting. And this particular crypt has maybe 4 or 5 of these burial chambers outfit, and then there's this stairwell that kind of winds around them. And so it gives you some opportunity to explore. And also what I really like about it is sometimes you need athletics or, you know, levitate to actually be able to explore some of the areas. So it gives you a real reason to level up your athletics.
Mm-hmm. And something I just saw is that you also really need to pay attention to what the like there's these little mummies hanging around here that you can open up and get some items out of them, but sometimes
like ashes and then eat them.
Yeah, but they might be wearing a ring that you can see. It won't be in their inventory, so you have to like pick it off of them. And there is some very powerful items that you can find just by seeing, oh, that it's laying right next to the corpse, not on the corpse.
Yeah, we just got one of those. I was it's Mage Bane, not Mage Killer, but yeah, it's a 2-handed glass sword. We just picked that up. That's really cool. Yeah. And as you can see, one of the things my character is doing here is I'm in stealth mode. When you're in stealth mode, you have like a little icon that shows like a hand trying to reach for a sack. And what's interesting, I maxed out my stealth. And you'd be like, wow, that takes a long time. And yes, it does, but there's a trick to that. And the trick is find yourself a good show on Netflix and put something heavy on your sneak key and just hang out in a bar. And just watch Netflix for about 10 hours, and when you come back, you'll have a maxed out stealth skill, and that is how you level up stealth. That is also how you level up athletics athletics is you swim into a wall, and then you go AFK for about 15 hours. So I don't know if any of you people did that dirty stuff, but I totally did, and I don't feel ashamed.
It's a really good way also to have the game outlevel you, because if you start out just leveling sneak, and it's like your major skill, you'll just use sneak to hit level 10 or so, and the game levels with you. So you start going out and doing these quests, and enemies are just murdering you in 2 hits because you don't have the armor skill to have your armor be effective, and you don't have the weapon skill to hit them.
Yeah. I think they actually increased the leveling a little bit more in Oblivion. I think the game has a hard cap on the leveling, so it will level with you a little bit, but it won't scale quite as much as Morrowind. Well, that certainly will happen there.
I think my favorite way of leveling a skill was almost any time I had to, visit or be introduced to a new NPC, and I had to get them to do something for me, I'd always try and
persuasion.
Persuasion. But I didn't have a very good speechcraft skill, so in order to level that, you've got a little bar that shows their kind of favor with you as to how much they enjoy your presence. And almost every time I would just say, like, admire. You have admire, intimidate, or what's the other one?
Taunt.
Oh, taunt.
Yeah, just give them money.
Yeah, and then you just give them money.
You can bribe 10, 100, or 1,000. Yeah. Turns out, if you give 1,000 gold pieces to someone that hates you, they hate you a lot less. And that's pretty consistent, right?
Yeah.
So I just saw what we picked up. We were going into this cave to pick up a bow. I think it was like an heirloom bow or something like that. And they let us keep the bow, which is great because I ended up using that. And this bow was fun because it actually drains stamina. So often I would hit someone with an arrow and they would just like fall to their knees. And I'm like, all right. Nice. So, and then the reason why we came here is we are now learning about the 7 trials of the Nerevarine. Is that how you pronounce it? I think I...
The Nerevarine.
Nerevarine, yeah. I'm going to let you pronounce it from now on. Nerevarine. And then you also learn about the Dissident Priests, which is kind of cool. And there's just so much dialogue here. This game is really a game where you have to read the dialogue to really make sense of what's going on. And
it's not fully voiced or anything, so they're just like, oh, cool, we can just type a paragraph and just display it to type a book, and we don't have to pay for VO for it. So
and what's really Yeah, go for it.
I was going to say a bit of lore that has been talked about, at least through the NPCs at this point, is that that the Tribunal Temple and the priests there, they basically believe that the Nerevarine cult is exactly that, a cult, and anyone who worships basically the Nerevarine should be sentenced to death. And we see that whenever we have to go into one of their main areas, when you have to fly up into I can't remember the name, place in Vivec. But then you have the
we'll get there.
But you have the Ashlanders, who are basically called the Nerevarine worshippers. So you have the two different sides of the coin that you really have to work with, and have to eventually get the buy-in of all of them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that will be like later on in the trials. Unbeknownst to us, we've actually already completed the trial 1. I think the trial 1 was completed basically when we were born, right? Because we were born under a certain sign. What was the sign that you're born under?
I think it's the moon star, because that ties into to the Daedric god that helps us. But it was under a certain sign on an unknown day to unknown parents.
Yeah.
And it was because of that the Emperor chose you to be under guard and sent to Morrowind because he believed that you were the Nerevarine. And at worst, it was a political move.
Yeah.
What a smart cookie that guy is. He never really checks in on you, though. He's like, he kind of sends you off, and I don't think you hear from him again. Although maybe Cassius reports back, because he's part of the Blades, which, by the way, we touched on the factions a little bit, but we could do that a little bit more here. So you have the Thieves Guild. You've got the Mages Guild, you've got the Fighters Guild, you've got the Blades, and then even some of the houses, and you can join them, and they can send you through their quest line, which is really kind of cool. And as you complete quests, and as long as you have the requisite skill levels, you can level through the house and get additional rewards and stuff like that. So part of the game does actually, I think the Blades faction is more or less the main faction or the crit path, so you have to level up the Blades, but all the other ones are optional as far as I know.
Yeah, what the one guild that faction I always loved doing was the Temple, because one of the first thing they do is they give you this little pilgrimage book, and you have to go around to these 7 or 10 different points around the world, and you just have to read this little book to find out where you need to go. And that was I always saw that as being a really great introduction to the whole world, because you got a little taste of all these different corners.
Sometimes I got stuck trying to figure out where to go. They tell me a town name. I'm like, great, and where is that exactly? And they wouldn't tell me. So sometimes it's hard to figure out where that thing is. You almost have to find the right person to talk to. But what's really cool is they have all the topics you know about in a journal and sorted by letter. So you can click on, so for instance, you want to learn about Vivec. All right, cool. Go to the V category, and here's all the things NPCs have talked to you about Vivec. And often that would be crucial for figuring out where a particular NPC was, or where that town was, or etc. But if you didn't know where it was, sometimes it was hard to find those NPCs, because they all have many of them have the same dialogue. It's like, hey, you want to learn about a specific location, specific person. You want to learn about the town in general. But sometimes you get to an NPC and they have 1 or 2 dialogue choices that are unique to them. And it's not like think of an RPG where you have 5 dialogue choices, and as you talk to them, they gray out. It's nothing like that. It's just a bunch of dialogue choices. It's what do you want to talk to this guy about?
And he'll talk about the same thing 1,000 times if you want to. You just keep clicking it, and it's like, okay.
Very patient.
Yeah.
All right, so we just killed one of these Dagoth guys, and Alamaxia, let's get a check-in with you, because we kind of skipped through this whole dungeon, but there was this necromancer or something. You want to walk us through what we just did, and more importantly, what just happened when we killed him?
So we were sent in there to get some corpus weepings, a cup of the 6th house cult, and I can't remember the last item we needed to get.
Are you sure that's a little bit later. Yeah, this is one where we have to go kill this Dagoth guy. He's like a necromancer or something like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then when we kill him, he curses us with this corpus disease.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because when we go back to Cassius, and he's like, yeah, I was actually kind of researching it. I figured you'd get corpus disease when you went there, so I already took the liberty of trying to figure out how to cure it. I'm like, oh, great, thank you for that. But what's kind of cool is the NPCs, when you talk to them, they'll be like, get away, I don't want anything to do with you.
Yeah.
Because corpus is something that eventually just makes you go mad and turns you into a monster.
But this is kind of part of fulfilling one of the trials additionally.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Because you're what, immune to all disease while you have corpus?
Yes. Yeah. Now, Lobos, since you're the resident flyer here, do you want to talk us a little bit about where we're going? And by the way, you have to fly to progress through this area here. So I think that's kind of interesting. If you're not a mage, figure out how to fly. I don't know. Not my problem, right?
Yeah. So at this point, we're in Telfir, I think.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
We're meeting with Devathfir, and he runs the Corpusarium. Is that right? And he's got, it's basically a big kind of dungeon where a lot of people who are affected by Corpus are, and he's got like an experimental way to cure it.
Treatment,
and so,
right?
Yeah, you kind of talk to him about that, and then this is how you're working your way through Corpus yourself.
He's kind of he's a little sadistic because he's like, hey, I've been alive for 1,000 years, man. I like to have fun, and I like to invite thieves to come into my corpusarium and just run through it. See if you can make it through. But if you touch any of my subjects, you're dead. So don't touch them. Just see if you can get through all of this area. So I actually don't know what happens if you attack them. I didn't. I managed to sneak through stuff, but I'm curious, Lobos, how did you get through here?
I think I just ran through this area. I didn't attack anybody, but I think in the second section there are some that are hostile, but I just ignored them.
Yeah. And so we're supposed to go down there and talk to someone to bring up, to get some boots, right?
I
think that's what he wants you to
flying.
do. Yeah. Which, of course, being a Khajiit, I couldn't wear. So I'm like, I want to use all this cool stuff, and I can't. This sucks. So,
but also really down cool here, we see the last remaining Dwemer.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
Yagrum Bagarn.
Yeah, this is a big deal. Like, if you've been keeping up with the lore, again, you are 100% convinced that there are no more of these Dwemers. But here you go. And it's this dude, this really fat dude, just kind of like lounging in this little like spider chair thing that he made. Is pretty cool.
Yeah, it really ties the race into their ruins, the very steampunk feel. Yeah.
And he'll talk a little bit about where he thinks the dwarves went. Actually, there's a couple people that you can ask later on in the game. You get to meet with either Vivec or Dagoth, and you can ask about the disappearance of the dwarves. And what's interesting is no one really knows, right? Yeah. And I actually don't know if they cover that in later games or if that's just something that's still unsolved in the Elder Scrolls lore. Alamaxia, any insight on that?
I know that they were basically they were seen as very evil, and I can't remember if they talk about it. All I can assume is that the disappearance is probably related to the fact that they were killed off. But I don't think that there was I don't think there was anything that I can remember about, they disappeared and here's why.
Yeah, I don't think there is an explanation. So maybe in Elder Scrolls 19.
6? Oh, okay.
Elder Scrolls 6 we're going to get in 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we have to go back to Vivec, and what's really cool is we go back to this person named Meho or something like that.
Milo.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you. And we met with her before, and Cassius tells us, like, hey, she's got this code name, Amaya, I think, and anytime she's in trouble, she'll, use that term. And so sure enough, you go to her quarters, and there's a letter for Amaya, and it's like, that's really cool. And it's written in a way, because basically she's being imprisoned by the temple here. So she's written this note that looks like innocuous, but, as you go there, you're like, I know what you mean here. And she tells you to bring 2 scrolls of divine intervention and basically break her out of prison, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Lobos, did you go in here guns a-blazing?
I did not. I actually had a very tame playthrough for, except okay, pretty frequently somebody would say something that I didn't like, and then I would blow them up. But then I would quick load, so it never happened.
Oh, okay.
So that's how I got my taste of bloodshed. So.
There's another world line in which all your NPCs have been killed.
Oh yeah, it's a mess.
By the way,
of fate.
I did not look at the accuracy of this, but it seems legit. They're some contemplating like, hey, could you do a full murder playthrough? Because most NPCs you can kill. There's a couple that will actually break the storyline, but they'll still let you play. They'll let you know, like, hey, you can't finish the game. I think someone mentioned, though, that it's a daunting task to actually kill everyone because there's like 2,300 NPCs.
So many.
So these aren't just like, randomly generated mobs. These are actually like named characters. So
yeah,
I don't know. It seems right. And I would love to see a playthrough in someone like
empty world
figures out how to route that and everything.
Now, one thing that we talked about persuasion a little earlier. Do either of you know how you can get an NPC, how you can kill an NPC, any NPC without a guard carrying?
Yeah, I think you taunt them, right, until they get very
taunt
angry.
them over and over and over, and even after they hit 0 of their like you meter, you keep taunting them, and eventually they go, all right, that's it. And all you can do is close the dialogue, and once they attack you,
then it's just defense.
Fair game.
Yeah.
I ran that into a couple times where if I attacked a guard before they actually hit me, I would my crime has been reported. But if I let them hit me first, it's like, oh, it's on now. Like I can hit you all I want. All right, so here's something that's really cool. It kind of it reminds me a little bit of like Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit,
right? Speak friend and enter or something.
No, like the moon key thing. Because this particular area only opens at dawn, right? Or
dawn
maybe
or
it's
dusk.
at nightfall, at dawn or dusk.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you rescued Mera, what was her name?
Mera Milo. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. She teleports to this secret location. I think these are people that know about the Dissident Priests, is that right?
These are the Dissident Priests, I believe.
These are
going to be the ones that are a part of the temple, but they also believe that the Nerevarine is real and is going to come back and help everyone.
Okay. Kind of sounds conspiracy theorist to me. I don't know about you guys, but these guys seem kind of out there, but things are lining up, and then...
Well, you're their leader.
I guess... Now we're going to learn about the trials, or we're going to start undertaking the trials. And so who wants to walk us through? We talked about trial 1 and 2. Does anyone remember trial 3? Because I think we just completed that. Yeah, trial 3 is to be cured of the corpus disease.
To be immune to disease or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Alamaxia, now we're in the area you were talking about earlier,
Yes.
which is we have to find the cup. We have to find some other junk.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to find that 6 house cup. We have to find the corpus weepings, and then the shield, like the shadow shield, and it's so that basically so that a camp will trust us.
Yeah. And so is this trial number 4? Do you remember what this is? I don't know if this is trial 3 or 4. Some of these are all blurring together.
That's wibbly wobbly timey-wimey trials.
So let me talk real quick about trials 4 and 5 because we skipped those entirely, and I think it's not fun. It was not fun for me, and the reason being is you have to be named Hoarder. Is that what it's called? Hortator. Potatoes.
Potato, yeah.
Named Potato. And in order to do that, you need to go to the 3 different houses, and you have to find like the 6 government officials, and almost everyone's got like something up their butt. They're like, I don't know. I really want to help you out here. Maybe if you give me like 2,000 gold, or maybe if you go like kill this guy, or, it's just like, oh gosh. And then it's like some of these people you have to find. They're like, oh, this person, I don't know where they are. So it's just a lot of back and forth. So I suppose it's okay if you're flying now, right, Lobos?
It was definitely better.
And did you use a guide at all, or did you figure it out all on your own?
I mean, if I needed to know something, there was very few times that I actually had to ask specifically where something was.
Okay.
And in that case, I used my Twitch chat. And then sometimes they didn't know, so I would Google. But most of the time, I would wander around blindly until I found it.
Jeez, I used a guide exclusively because I was like, I can't do this.
Now, if you do enough side questing, you can skip the 4th and 5th trials entirely.
Oh,
yeah.
How do you do that?
You have to be level 20 and have at least 50 reputation, and then an NPC will say, "Okay, just go talk to the Archcanon."
Okay.
Wow.
You just skip all this crap.
Nice.
And then there's like the trial number 5. You have to unite the 4 tribes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the Urshkas or whatever, they're one of the tribes, and you have to go throughout Morrowind and unite the other 3, and so it's kind of a pain. But once you get all those, like everyone's kind of cheering you on. They're like, "Yeah, we respect you, and you're the leader. So go do your thing." And then trials 4 and 5 are completed, and then we just went into a really cool area where we have a ring, right? And this is. Yeah. Was this what you were talking about? Is one of the
yes.
Daedra helping us?
So Azura is a Daedric god. She oversees the moon and star, and she is one of the good Daedric gods. She wants to see the Nerevarine restored. She believes you to also be the Nerevarine, and she gives you the moon and star ring to help you on your way. So it's like you get the direct favor of a god, which is really cool.
And then when you talk to her, all these ghosts appear.
Yeah.
And these are all the failed, I don't know if you call them applicants or something, right?
Yeah,
and
they were trying
these are all
to
the
fulfill the prophecy.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
Makes you feel kind of special. You're like, they're like, "Hey, I'm so-and-so and I have failed."
I really liked that they did this kind of instant transition. As soon as you grab the ring, they play a pre-rendered video, but it's very well done where it's pretty much the same angle you would approach the statue, and then as soon as you hit E, it transitions to pre-render, but it does it very smoothly, and then suddenly Azura is like talking in your mind, and you're like, what's happening?
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And then we more or less move on. We have been recognized by the entire world as being the person that will defeat Dagoth-Ur, who again is like this. He's a god, right? Is that right? He's a god who's trying to raise up or something. Alamaxia, double check that.
Effectively, he's a god.
Okay. And then so you get to go meet Vivec in the city of Vivec, and that's cool. And he's this dude that's like just kind of, he's sitting cross-legged and just floating. By the way, raise the hands who tried to kill him as, quick save, and then like, let's try to kill him just to see. Anyone try that?
I killed him.
You can kill him.
You killed him. Okay.
I had OP magic.
What happens? Because he beat me pretty bad.
With this character's death, the threads of fate, blah blah blah. That's
okay.
If you kill him, then you get the instead of him giving you the gauntlet that allows you to hold the Keening and Sunder, you pick it up off of his body and you have to go talk to someone else. But you can kill him and bypass his part of the quest as well.
Early, I might have done it early at a point where it wouldn't let you. I don't know. I just remember having to reload after that. Otherwise, like if it didn't give me that error, then I would keep going.
Okay. So real quick, Alamaxia, because I know you had some stuff to talk about. So you get something from Vivec, and then he tells you to go pick up 2 things. Walk us through that real quick.
Yeah, so he gives you, sorry, I'm pulling up
Wraithguard.
The Wraithguard, thank you.
Yeah.
It's a gauntlet that allows you to hold these 2 items called the Keening and the Sunder. So the Sunder is a hammer that you use, and it is used to break the break the barrier that's around the heart that Dagoth-Ur is guarding. And then the Keening is used to stab at the heart. So you have to have both of these items in order to finish the game, because you can't break that shield without the Sunder, and you can't hurt the heart without the Keening.
Yep. And so you go up through. We talked a little bit about Ghost Gate, and that's kind of an ominous transition, because there's just kind of nothing around, and there's just this portcullis that raises up. And then you push the other button. It's kind of like an airlock of portcullis, which is cool. Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, you're going into a very dangerous place here, right? But there's 2 Dwemer runes there where you get the Sunder and Keening. We skip that because it's pretty much like any other Dwemer rune we've already seen. And so we actually have both the items now, and now we are in the final area. I don't remember what it's called, but as you're going through this area, you're hearing Dagoth speak to you in your mind, and he's kind of like cordial to you, right? He's like, hey, come, let's chat. Come back over here where we talked many thousands of years ago. And I thought that was really cool. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get to him very soon here. We got a couple people we're continuing to kill here, but this is super exciting to finally come to this revelation for me, because you keep hearing about these prophecies and you start to realize that, like, yeah, you had been here before, or you had been working with Dagoth before, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Dagoth's plan, once you do encounter him, you get to do a whole bunch of dialogue with him. And what's he doing? He's building like a big avatar for some sort of automaton that's going to like just kind of like cleanse the world or something. Like, I don't remember exactly.
I think it might show. So I'm talking to him here, and I think it will show up. I can't remember if I show that or not here.
Yeah, I remember talking to him a bunch and just going like, okay, yeah, I get his side. Yeah. He's a villain who you can be like, I see how you think this is a means to an end. It
makes sense. It's like, we must save humanity by killing all of humanity.
Right, one of those things. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. All right. So, he also asks you what you will do.
Oh, yeah.
With the power from the heart. And I don't know that changes anything. I think it might just be like, a dialogue. Alamaxia, do you know if it does anything, or is this just
I can't
fluff?
remember.
Yeah, It probably doesn't. So, and then I start stabbing him. He's a pretty easy fight, but, is he really dead after we kill him? Can you really strike down a god? I don't see his corpse anywhere. So we're going to go into the next area, which is the actual chamber. And of course, we meet him and he's got his shield on. Lobos, you want to walk me through what you did here? Did you try to fight him, or did you immediately just run down to the lower area?
I knew about part of the collecting Keening and Sunder those are Kagranak's tools, which it said are needed to defeat Dagoth. And so even in the first fight, I was looking for the heart, and I was like, wait, where's the heart? Because I hadn't played in a long time, and I was like, what's going on? And then I just killed him, and then this chamber, I remembered this, and I was like, oh yeah. So then I just started flying around looking for the heart.
Just flying.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just flying. And he kind of teleports around, but he wasn't too much of a threat. And then you find the heart, and you have this like scroll of instructions that Vivec gave you about how you need to sunder exactly once, hit with sunder.
I couldn't remember the order, so I was just like smashing with the hammer and the dagger and the hammer. I was like, which one do I do again? But I eventually figure it out there.
He doesn't like you stabbing his heart.
Yeah, he's like, I'm quite a bit faster than him, because at this point I have athletics probably at like 95 or something. So I move very quickly, and he's not able to keep up. But yeah, once you stab that heart, it falls down, and just that's it. That's the boss fight. And you get a nice little presentation of this statue being destroyed. They don't really tell you other than a journal update. The journal update is like, oh my goodness, this place is crumbling. I better get out of here. But it doesn't really, it's like not really indicates that you're supposed to. And then Alamaxia, as we finish up the game here, do you want to walk us through who we are talking to? Do you know who this apparition appears? Who is this?
That is Azura.
Okay, yeah.
So that is the same Daedric god that gave us the moon and star.
One. Okay.
And she congratulates you.
Yeah. Quest well done. And we even get a little item too. I don't remember what it is, but you can pick it up, and then, I guess if you want, you can continue playing the game, or you can go to the DLC and just kind of keep exploring there. But, you have a nice little cutscene. I don't remember what this cutscene is telling you, other than like you have fulfilled the prophecy and now you're no longer beholden to it or something like that.
It's basically you cleansed the land of the sixth house, and you see the red lift off of Red Mountain. You see the veil of the world just lift, and now there's this beautiful land left that no longer has the threat of Corpus raining down on it.
I mean, honestly, that wasn't the real threat. It was those darn cliff racers. If all this and we still have cliff racers, we have not completed our mission as far as I'm concerned. So, man, what an adventure. I think I had a little over 20 hours playtime, and I would say probably 15 to 16 hours of that were just the crit path, which was crazy. How did you guys clock in here?
I was probably around 30, 35 hours. I did all the Mages Guild. I achieved wizard rank as Harry Potter, as you do, of course.
Yeah, all right.
Which is pretty cool. The final quest, you have to go find a staff. That's the only way you can become a wizard is by obtaining a staff. So you get somebody else's who's like left the Mages Guild and steal it from them.
Oh, you mean you murdered someone and stole their staff?
Well, I mean they left the Mages Guild. They're kind of outcasts, so they're like, just
left.
You know, they're over there. If you get their staff, you're a wizard. I was like, yes, wizard.
Cool. How about you, Alamaxia?
I think I clocked in. I would have clocked in right about 25, 30 hours. The boots of blinding speed and being able to fly it makes everything so much easier. I was telling my friends that if we were talking about, how did you get to this place? I was going to say, I just flew. How'd you get there? I just flew.
I don't know.
I don't know. I
just go straight. It's not that hard. By the way, I just wanted to mention, because I think we talked about it, but I think it's a really innovative thing in this game is you can make your own spells.
Oh, yeah.
And what's brilliant about it is you need a soul stone, which is of sufficient quality. And basically you have to suck a soul of a monster in it. And then, no, sorry, you don't have to do that. That's for enchanting weapons. For creating spells, it's just like you basically have to learn the components of the spell. And then you can say all right, well, I want this to be a fireball that also reduces their resistance to fire. And then all these attributes build up and it makes it either harder or easier to cast and less or more mana. So that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, I remember
playing with that a lot.
That breaks the game. So if you do enhance attribute, like 1 or any amount really, and then immediately after Soul Trap, and you put them both on touch, and then you cast it at a wall or a corner, that will just permanently add that attribute. It just breaks it. So that's how.
Wow.
So eventually I was just doing okay, I mean, I didn't want to over abuse it. I mean, I did because I had so much mana, but that wasn't breaking the game. It was just convenience. So I didn't go just giving myself maximum strength and
cheat
maximum
engine,
agility.
just convenience.
Yeah,
Don't worry about it.
Now we didn't really talk about enchanting very much, and I saw on the video here we recently killed a golden saint. Those really stick out in my mind as being very important because outside of Vivec, they have the largest soul in the game, and the size of the soul determines what size gem you need to use, and that will determine what level of attributes you can basically put onto a piece of gear. And it wasn't until you got to the Golden Saint Soul that you could put a constant effect on your gear. So you could have a constant effect levitate or constant effect fortify attribute 20, and that's so you could really start to get overpowered just enchanting your own stuff.
Yep. Also,
so much.
I was just going to say that also with my playthrough, I did a lot of alchemy, and by a lot of alchemy, because I had the potions you create scale off your intelligence, and because I had so much intelligence, it was just suddenly restore magicka, I don't know, 300 for 70 seconds
for the budget one
or something like that.
Oh, geez, okay.
So then you would take that, and you would also craft dozens of them, and then you would take that to the mud crab, and then you just had literally unlimited gold. So it was busted.
That's
good.
Funny. That's funny. It is fun that there's so many ways to break this game if you want to.
Yeah.
And that's part of the fun in there. And this game was so much fun. It still holds up today. It's definitely rough around the edges with the UI and conversations. And I'd say that the crit path, I would frequently get stuck and kind of have to look around. But yeah, totally worth it. Pick it up, have fun. It's just, I definitely felt the urge to constantly stay up late and continue grinding out skills with my character. Closing thoughts from you guys on this game.
Go ahead, Lobos.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Elder Scrolls games because there's so much kind of not necessarily emergent gameplay, but you're just kind of running around, and then there's certain events that pop up, and you can handle them in all sorts of different ways. Just the freedom that you have in these games to fly across the world or just jump across the world or stab things or magic. Like there's just so many ways to play it. So I'll always come back to Morrowind or any other Elder Scrolls, really.
Yeah, this game I have probably a game I have more hours in than any non-MMO game. Like I said earlier, I've purchased this game too many times, mostly because I would keep losing the discs or they would get too scratched. But the years that I have spent modding this game and playing it unmodded and doing this and that, I mean, every single playthrough is different in its own way. And that's one of the reasons I keep going back to it. It doesn't have the compass that tells you where to go. So every time I play, my brain just goes, I want to do this time. And I go down this other path and I find places I never discovered before. Yep. So this...
Yeah, I think we even found one that the Robin Hood quest line.
Oh,
so check that out. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, there's just so much to this game. And it just holds such a special place in my heart as being the first RPG and open world RPG that I had played where I got so sucked into the world and the story and the NPCs that I would spend hours just going through each NPC in a town and talking to them and learning about them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love
That's crazy.
Love
yeah, and that takes Vivec as a 40-hour game if you do that. Just Vivec, right? Well, yeah, that's going to wrap up this episode. Really wanted to thank the Patreon supporters for helping to make this and previous episodes possible. If you'd like to help support us on Patreon, you can do so by heading over to patreon.com/Saturday Morning Gaming Show, and you can learn more.
Or you can find us on iTunes, Google, or whatever your podcast platform of choice is, or you can find our podcast on SaturdayMorningGamingShow.com.
You can also provide us with feedback if you want to there, or you can shoot us an email at SaturdayMorningGamingShow@gmail.com.
And I'm sure people are wondering, like, hey, it's a new year. We've got Morrowind in the bag. What's next? What do you guys think we should do next? We played a really cool Western RPG. What do you guys think we should do next?
This has so much open world and so much wonderful graphics. I need something that's more on rails and has many little squares that show me what the guys are.
Maybe an RPG from the East then. Sounds like that. That might be reasonable.
Yeah. Something where you choose
Perhaps
fight magic item.
We're going to take a look at Final Fantasy 1 on the NES. That's a, from a game that was released in 2002 to a game that was released in 1970. I don't know. Yeah, Final Fantasy 1 is an interesting game. I have never played it. I will say I am enjoying it. I'm playing it now, and I picked a thief as one of my main characters, and I'm very sad that I did because I do not like that thief, but maybe it will get better. We'll find out in February. So stay tuned for us there. And just kind of heads up, if you're listening to us on a platform and you are able to rate us, like iTunes or whatever, go ahead and give us a rating there. It really helps us feel good about what we're doing, even if the rating's a 1 out of 5. Makes me feel good that people are at least hitting that 1 star there, because that just gives us +1 star as far as I'm concerned, right? You take all the stars and you add them together, and that's how many stars you have.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly.
All right. And then just one special shout out to TechnoAxe for much of the music on this episode.
All right. For Saturday Morning Gaming, I'm Alamaxia.
I'm Lobos.
And I'm the Thefatwizard. We'll see you in February with Final Fantasy 1 for the NES.